versus America here for an action-packed TVP. Alex Thunderhearth up against the young Clem, the young gun. He's been making waves here in this tournament so far.
He has to overcome quite an adversary to topple the American champion, or will he be turned into french fries? Let's find out as we're loaded into Acropolis to kick off this best of 5. In the bottom right, the blue Protoss player representing Ting in the United States of America. He is Neeb.
And up here in the top left-hand side, hailing from France, the red Terran player. He is Clem.
All right, so based on that one sign the guy in the crowd had, we cannot say he's going to crush this fight. That is how we curse him, unless we want the other player to win.
What happens if we say they're both crushing this fight?
I don't know, does like the game crash?
That's when, even if Emil's not casting, he teleports into the game and freezes.
Waiting for player. It's like, there is no player. It's the ghost dropping player. So we've got Neeb coming up with the probe scout. And we've seen a lot of this nice little cheeky TVP harass. The TVP's been a little bit more fun to watch. Seems like the Terrans are a little less stressed with the late game EMP upgrade. It has made the longer games feel a little bit less tough to take, as we have seen some gnarly EMPs over Protoss armies to help clutch it. But I'm already noticing something that I do find a little bit interesting, Pig. Neeb has opted for that cybernetics core before going for the Nexus, so he wants to have fast access to that Adept, and if the probe can delay and be annoying on the command center, maybe he's going to try and get a quick pick off. I'm not sure.
I really like that. With the low ground wall off, it really diminishes the rush distance on this map. You know, get the Adept off. And it's not an easy map for the Reaper to get in and threaten, right? You don't really need to leave the Adept. I mean, with this build, you can have a second Adept out pretty much in time anyway, but you can go ahead and potentially, I guess he's not actually going to wall off the Reaper jump-in spot, but quick bunker going down on the low ground, and will be, of course, the Reaper trying to hop in there and defend that Adept.
I really like the bunker on the low ground, actually, for trying to stop something like this. And to what you were saying before, I also find it quite funny, because what Terran player would expect that a Protoss wouldn't put the pylon on the Reaper spot?
Yeah.
Right? So you're naturally not going to go there, because you just anticipate that you wouldn't be able to get away with it anyway.
Exactly, and that Reaper is just going to chill out here. A rather delayed factory for Clem.
Ooh.
As he's focusing on being safe, he's got to get in that bunker. Oh, dancing with danger there. Just a little bit. SCV does hop in. Nice micro by Clem. Gets a bit of build time, but he doesn't want to let it float over to where the Adept is. Oh, fantastic control here by Clem.
SCV build micro, Pig. We've got it all here at the World Championship Series. It is a factory follow-up, so the Adept not only kind of booking this ramp.
Oh, you're kidding me. Neeb gets in there. That's such a powerful move. Does manage to focus down one of these Marines. Loses a Reaper for it, though. But the delay on the command center, very nice. Now, what's funny is Clem had already built an extra depot ahead of time, anticipating a potential supply block. So that did not kick in at all. Didn't manage to slow anything down. Widow Mines and a Starport on the way behind it. For Clem, it's looking a lot like one of these Widow Mine drop into Raven openings. Pretty much the bread and butter of Terran play at the moment. Allows you to hunt down the observers. Of course, interference matrix on the Colossi, very powerful as well.
Yeah, some players will opt to skip the Raven and try to make the push a little bit faster. On this map, you're not as worried about defending against like Blink Stalker play, just because you don't have that easy cliff access to the main. But this time around for Neeb, it is going to be a Warp Prism, and in his Challenger run in WCS not too long ago, he actually quite favored this versus Terran. Even Disruptor drops popped up a bit. Of course, there's no Robotics Bay early on in this game. And that Reaper sees the robotics facility, but without seeing the Warp Prism come out, you can't really be certain that it's going to be something like this. Could very well just have dropped the Twilight Council as soon as the Reaper died to get Blink. Although, of course, we can see everything that's happening, and now, so can this Observer.
Yeah, there's always going to be just a little bit of worry about one of these kind of straight-up gateway pressures coming out with the Prism. But we, of course, can see everything. And it's interesting because Neeb's going for 4 casters, but he hasn't really gone in a techie direction yet. So I'm a bit confused about exactly what Neeb's going to do with this Warp Prism.
See that.
And there we go. Forge and a Robotics Bay goes down as well.
All right, so maybe go into Colossi +1 attack is a solid option.
Seems a little slow, though, for the Colossi. I feel like that robotic speed could have gone down a bit earlier.
Yeah, I mean, he has the Prism already, so it could also be the Disruptor memes that I was talking about earlier. It does feel... I always feel like the Disruptors are such a hit or miss strategy. It feels quite dangerous to do it, but perhaps on the big stage, Neeb is counting on his experience here and his confidence over Clem's to be able to overcome him with a more technical strategy. As that Widow Mine drop does approach the natural expansion, 2 mines go down, picks one of them back up. This one is gonna...
Oh, lovely Widow Mine there. Decides to shoot the Assimilator and damage its shields, unfortunately not being as effective as Clem would have liked. That one does get a pair of probes. And most importantly, if that medevac can escape, no.
Wow.
Medevac falling. That's all of Clem's pressure for the next couple of minutes. Shut down on the map. Neeb picking off a few SCVs on the other side as well. The one thing going Clem's way is that Neeb has not been able to move out to a third base just yet. He's kind of going to start moving out in that direction now. Colossus and upgrades on the way, as you had predicted, Nathanias. And you know what? I don't think we saw a Raven this game, right?
No, he has opted to skip it straight out of the mine drop, went for the reactor. He does have a couple of extra mines at home, and he's continuing to produce Widow Mines, which, you know, as we all know, not necessarily the greatest units against Colossi, considering their great range and the damage that they do. And having this Prism to threaten on the map is so nice, denying a little bit more income. And considering how little damage that mine drop did, oh, you don't want to click the supply depot, but he's not put himself in necessarily the economic position that you want to be in after that mine drop.
Yeah, a couple of interesting misclicks there from Neeb. One of the adapts did go down. Not a big deal, but may show that there's just a little bit of shakiness with his hands right now. As this big push comes forward, Neeb doesn't really see it right now. It might surprise him a little. The Colossus coming forward. That Observer needs to come over. Those Widow Mines are a big threat right now. Cannot afford to eat those shots. Clem looking for the cancel on this base. The Observer's not in position right now. He's going to stim forward on the Colossus. That Colossus mighty exposed, Nathanias.
Oh, great pick off there for Clem. Tries to pick up his units and pull back now without that Colossus to help push through the mines too. He uses a hallucinated Phoenix to drag the shot over and bait out the Widow Mines. He does have the third Nexus still mostly protected. He's gotten through just a lot of the shields of it, but the health is still there. If he can clean this up, he has a little bit of time to try and secure this base, get that Colossus count back up. Don't forget that Warp Prism is still on the map, so the potential is big. Ooh. I say that, and now that Warp Prism, well, you might want to bring that home. Sadly, there are no Protoss insurance policies. You cannot fix that Warp Prism. It's going to be weak for the rest of this game, which makes it a little bit harder to keep that harass going.
Indeed. These medevacs surviving from that previous pressure. I like the way Clem did that. Didn't mind losing a few Marines and Marauders and Mines, staying there to get the maximum damage done. Saves the important units, the medevacs, keeps them alive for the next one, and uses that mobility to dive towards the main base. A couple of Zealots and Stalkers there. A Colossus about to pop out. That would help out a lot right now, as those Widow Mines once again creating problems here for Neeb. Lovely splits on the Zealots. The Colossus does come out, and with that, Clem going to try and just focus fire a Stalker or two down, but no doubt going to have to leave very shortly. Getting the warping in Stalkers. Nice pickoffs there by Clem. Stalkers, one of the most valuable targets for that Marauder focus fire.
Yeah, actually really good pickoffs here by Clem. I mean, Neeb has kind of got the economy going. He didn't lose that Prism, but he hasn't really gotten a crazy amount done on the backside. Clem is just now getting that third base settled in. This Observer in the main, by the way, so nice. I mean, Neeb knows that the army isn't trailing out to go hit one of his other bases. He has an Observer by the Xel'Naga Watchtower, so he has a decent bit of awareness of the army positioning of Clem. That big drop was pretty much it, because he is worried about that Prism. That's the impact that has for the Protoss against the Terran. He doesn't want to leave his base from having any defense in case that Prism shows up.
Indeed, and I love this pickoffs. The force fields are nice. Clem overstaying. He wanted to create threat here so that his drop could get in the main, but you know what? He's losing a lot of units. The medevac's incredibly low. He's going to come in with round 3 of the Widow Mine drops, and this time, Neeb not watching. Those probes are awfully clumped.
Oof, 13 probes picked off by those Widow Mines, and the army's going to charge towards that third base. Colossi a little bit exposed in the front. Warp Prism helping to pull them back, but dicey situation here for Neeb, as that medevac is going to pick up those mines and go hide in the dead space between the natural and the third.
This is the power of Clem. Those young hands, he's so fast on that keyboard and mouse. He's such a momentum and tempo-focused player. And you can see here, things look like they're going right for Neeb. They look like they're going right up until the moment where everything can fall apart in a moment. 13 probes going down, a big pullback for Clem. Does he have enough Vikings to deal with this Colossus push, though? Neeb seems to sense a bit of a timing window here. A lot of Marauders are out. The double starport production's on the way, but there's only 3 Vikings. Clem needs just another 30 or 40 seconds to get up to 7 or 8 Vikings.
Yeah, Blink is about to finish. He warped in 7 Adepts to complement this army. I mean, he doesn't have charge, but the damage they're going to add against these Marauders is minimal. Maybe hoping to shade in and drag any leftover Widowmine shots in him. The Stalkers poke the front, and of course he can blink these back. Need to be cautious. There is that mine, and he just wants to blink away from it, wants it. But look at that Clem manually retargeting the mine so it won't go off.
Oh, Clem, that is the sickest move. Actually changing targets on that mine constantly because he knew Neeb was waiting for it to fire and then he was going to teleport away. Buys himself a lot of time. And those Vikings, are they down here? A few more Vikings coming. A lot of Marauders. The force fields on the right-hand side, zoning them out. But the lift on the command center creates a bit more space. It's not enough, though, because that is 4 Colossus. And they have destroyed the ground army. The Vikings finally land their shots. But where's the ground army? It's gone.
Beautiful control for Neeb. Clem not able to hold on against this attack. GG is called as the American takes map number 1. And man, he really pushed it. He tried to get all that damage done. As you said, Neeb saw this window with a 3rd base. Yes, he had it done. He was starting to move workers there, but the transition into Vikings hadn't happened just yet. There were a lot of medevacs that had gone out on the field. So if you want to have them at home to keep your army alive, to be able to stim, you're not going to have that Viking count up. And man, Neeb just really smelling blood in the water. And I liked everything that Clem was doing there, retargeting the mine so it wouldn't blow up. And you don't always see this when the force fields come in, but he lifted the orbital so that he would create a little bit more space to spread out his army. And even that was not enough. He bought himself some time, but it was like 5 or 6 Vikings against 4 Colossi, and that's just not going to work for you.
Yeah, good defense throughout all of that early stages from Neeb. And that's something you got to remember. Neeb with the Adepts picks off a few SCVs, goes back in, picks off a few SCVs, shuts down the first Widowmine drop for 2 probes. That's a really good hold while doing a bit of damage on the other side. And that's what kind of built into that situation where even though Clem found the opening, got a Colossus pick off, then he got a big, 13 probes with the double Widowmine drop. You've got to remember this comes off the back of Neeb already being ahead at that point in the game. And I felt like when that final fight happened, you know, the Marauder count wasn't quite what it needed to be. The Viking count, obviously the most important part, was just a little ways off. And if Clem had another minute, he had the superior economy, he had great production up. But Neeb, he knew his moment. 4 Colossus is a scary number. You need really to have something special to deal with that.
Yeah, he did a lot of economic damage, but that was the moment. Neeb's like, all right, I don't want to play from behind in a longer game, especially against someone who's playing as fast as Clem was. He says, screw it, I'm going to take everything I have and just micro my way to victory. And so he did. As we get ready for game number 2. Neeb been playing so sharp lately, especially in Challenger and around the world, looking like he's back in prime form. Can he keep it up here in Montreal? We have him in the top left, our blue Protoss player. He is Neeb. Does that look like the face of mercy, Pig?
Looks like the face of Baby Driver to me. Everybody's favorite American hero. Down here in the bottom right, though, of course, let's start to introduce this man, the young Frenchman on the scene, the up-and-coming Terran player that a lot of players have their hopes riding on. A lot of the fans have been seeing him rise from a competitor to one of the absolute top Terrans in Europe. Down here in the bottom right-hand side, in the red, it is Clem.
Bringing out some sharp tactics, but unfortunately, when you go for that type of build, you really want the first mine drop. That is the most important one. Getting the probes later on is nice, but it's a numbers game, Pig.
Yeah.
The more workers you have, the less valuable each one is when it comes to losing a few here and there. So Clem maybe going to change it up this game. I kind of liked some of the Hellion drop play that we saw earlier as far as the TVP goes. That feels like it's a little bit more micro-focused rather than just hoping that the mines can get the shots off and the Protoss doesn't pull away. And Roddy was actually talking about this earlier, but for some of the players, the Sim City that they try to build around to stop the run-bys can also work against you.
Absolutely. Sometimes you wall off the Reaper and you also wall off your Stalkers from getting back to shut down a medevac at the same time a few minutes later down the track. So definitely something you got to watch out for, and I love those Hellion builds as well. I think it's something, a best of 5 series like this, you've got to keep the Protoss on their toes, keep them guessing, keep them uncomfortable. The way I always try to describe this matchup to players who maybe don't play one of these races or don't play as much as they watch is Protoss wants to scout what Terran's up to, identify their exact plan, and kind of have just the right amount of defense and then explode into an economic advantage behind it, add the tech behind it. And usually at some point, 3 base plus, Protoss just grabs control of the game. They grab the reins and they start to just posture around. We saw it with a sharp Colossus counterattack in that last game. I think you've got to keep the Protoss guessing. You can't be too predictable as a player. Otherwise, a player of Neeb's level, he'll just find a way to run away with the game if he can shut down your pressure.
Yeah, if he's able to build up to that Colossus tech again like that without taking a huge amount of damage early on, gets the 3 base saturation, if he can get up an army like that, it's so difficult to get that boulder to stop rolling towards you. Even if you take a few jabs at the end, it really, for the Terran players, it comes down to trying to get something done as quickly as possible to prevent that economy from the Protoss from getting out of control. Neeb this time around, though, he's going to switch things up. He's going for a Stargate. That Oracle is not only going to give him the scouting information that the Adept may or may not be able to get for him, but has the potential to get the big worker damage done, and can also shut down or neutralize some of these attacks if he sniffs out something like a drop. But this is quite an odd way to do it for Clem. He builds the Hellions, but he's actually gone for a 2 racks. That Adept could have tried to get in the way, too.
And this is a really cool opening, right? Because the 4 Hellions represent a big threat, and that tends to keep the Oracle at home. You need the extra damage to make sure they don't dart in and just destroy your worker line. The second barracks, though, opens up the chance for a faster timing attack, and even a 3rd barracks going down behind that. So he's going to be gearing up for a huge bio push about the 7 or 8 minute mark. Yeah, I really thought he would go for the reactor on the factory and the starport instead of that 3rd barracks. The Hellions come in, 3 probes killed. Nothing crazy, but as you said, Pig, very importantly, the Oracle stays at home. So the Marines are able to deal with that Adept without too much fear that anything is going to be getting in his face or getting in his way. Still a nice spot. Neeb's not down economically at any by any means at this point. But as long as those Oracles aren't crossing the field, Clem has time. And then as time comes by, he's going to get enough Marines to be able to defend against this. Oh, 2 Adepts warping in out at the 3rd base of Clem. Make that a 3rd Adept. This is where things could get nasty. Give Clem a minute or 2. Stim's going to finish. Shields will finish. He'll be in a good spot. But right now, he's skipped on the bunker, Nathanius. He's trying to be a bit greedy. And if he got away with it, 2-3 minutes from now, super powerful bio army. Right now, you've got a handful of unupgraded Marines against a ton of units that do bonus to light. Yeah, the Oracles, of course. The 3rd one actually did come out behind this. So with a bunch of Adepts, could just try to shade in on top of the Marines and move in with everything at once. Wow. A very aggressive, sharp timing to hit. That missile turret not being done yet either. That would help so much in the situation, but he's going to go for it. The Oracle's coming in. The Adepts are going to rip the Marines apart. Stim is done, though, and that might be enough to help him defend against this. The 3rd Oracle showing up is going to turn things over, though. Oh, and the missile turret not quite finished that Oracle on the left-hand side in the deep red, but that is a beautiful pressure timing from Neeb. It was a heavy pressure, but it ends up pretty much being a kill move. Annihilates the natural, takes out the Marines before the medevacs can pop, before they have the upgrades and the support. A devastating attack. Hits right before Stim, and then already killed half the Marines by the time it's done. And the missile turret, 95%. I mean, that's brutal, man. Yeah, sour about that. You hate to see it. Clem getting absolutely blasted by Neeb's incredibly sharp timing. Says, you want to keep my Oracles at home? That's fine. I'll just make more Oracles. And he's stuck on 1 base while Neeb acquires his 3rd, gets the Twilight, gets the Forge. He's feeling pretty good about himself right now, Pig. Yeah, I love the way Neeb did this. You know, he saw exactly what Clem was up to with his Adept Shade. Whilst he was defending the Hellions, Neeb is a very cerebral player. He was cataloging exactly what his opponent was up to. Is he going to commit? He might actually just shade on top of those Marines. Awfully exposed, but good hot pickup from Clem. Keeps them alive for now. The preemptive bait from Clem there. If you drag the mine shots onto the Marines, it looks awesome. If the Terran player, you know, is using their eyes, they lift up and you blow up all your Adepts, then, well, that doesn't look so awesome. Yeah, that's not the big brain plays that we saw from a laser by any means, if that ends up happening. But yeah, I love the choice here by Neeb, recognizing that window was open. The 3 Oracle, ton of Adepts come in, adds a few Stalkers as well. And it's a complete control here from the Protoss player, going up into many more gateways, 6-gate blink and +1 on the way. Has a good little section of sentries out, some Adepts there to absorb damage. And it's just about securing the 3-base economy and slowing things down for Neeb.
Yeah, he's going to bring this double drop in. Clem trying to strike back. Now, Neeb's army was out on the map. He turned it around to come home, but in that time, he loses 3 Stalkers. Every unit that gets picked off, we know that even with a severe economic disadvantage, in a situation like this, Stim Bio can be very strong. Those Widow Mine actually gets a really juicy shot, dragging out the shields of almost the entire Protoss army. This might still be a little bit too much from Neeb, though, for Clem to be able to keep that push going, but he's ready to hit the third base at the same time, Big.
Oh my, he's actually making the most of a bad situation here. The Widow Mine takes out the Oracle. Those units could do a hot pickup get out, as well as the units in the main evacuating there. So as we said, Neeb wants to slow things down because he's got 3 base versus 1.5 base economy right now. But Clem, he's trying to say, no. If I give you any time to stabilize, you are just going to massively outproduce me. He's got a Liberator coming in. He's joining up his bio forces on the front. He needs to hit Neeb right now. +1 and Blinker about to kick in. He's looking for that crucial damage. It's a desperate attack from Clem. Can he make some magic happen here? It's a long shot, but he's pushing in. He's catching the units a little bit isolated.
That Liberator in the main base, getting the probe kills in the middle of all of this. Blink finished just in the nick of time, but as he pushes this back, needs to be able to maintain control. If he can shut down the momentum of Clem's harass, then things are going to be looking pretty good for him. And it does look like that army is on the retreat, but the Liberator coming in for round 2 on the natural. The Stalkers are here, and he's going to use just one of them to take out the Liberator. The Adepts make their way into the natural at the same time with that that +1 attack. They're going to be 2-shotting those SCVs, so Clem's economy ripped to shreds even more.
Very good moves here by Neeb, and look at that, the Blink Stalkers jump forwards, and with that, Clem forced out of game 2.
GG. And wow, Neeb playing extremely sharp. This is what I've been hyping up all weekend. You know, Neeb has been playing so clean and just sensing that opportunity, the blood on the water, because we definitely saw something a little bit unusual there out of Clem, opening up it's like a reactor Hellion expand into 2 racks, into 3, as actually 3 racks, and I'm just going to get my starport really late. You would think that gives you enough Marines to deal with this, but Neeb just hit that attack timing so well. It was like 7 or 8 Adepts with the 3 Oracles. Beautiful. Right as Stim was about to finish. No bunker, no missile turret, completely exposed.
You can see there Clem scratching his head a little bit as to how to solve this opponent. One of the hardest players to go up against in Neeb. I think looking at that series, I've got to say, you know, I've always identified, even since early last year when he started making his WCS debut performances, Clem as a player, you give him enough bio, an even situation in the mid game, he can take down the best Protoss players in the world. But I think he does sometimes struggle maybe potentially to get to that situation. So of course, going to be trying to find a way to get past this early game. That last one, if you think about that opening, remember, it wasn't just a fast second barracks, it was a really fast third barracks as well. Imagine if there's a bunker on that natural expansion. That's a completely different story, right?
Changes everything about this game. I mean, the Oracles surely would have done some good damage, having 3 of them. The Adepts maybe get behind the mineral line, but you don't break the natural force the lift up and move back into the main, because it's the follow-up warp ins there where he brings the Stalkers that says, hey, that your command center's going back inside, and you are stuck with a 20-plus worker disadvantage. Just a little bit greedy. I will say, kind of cool build from Clem. I love the idea behind it, but the Hellions themselves also didn't get that much. Just 3 probes on the other side of the map for everything that he invested.
Yeah, you know, I kind of like the idea of do a heavy pressure. The Hellions are often paired with a Liberator, or, you know, they poke the front, then they pick up and drop in the main. It's normally a piece of a more complex pressure opening. Maybe Cloaked Banshees come in behind it. Instead, it felt like Clem was trying to get Neeb back in his corner of the map, being a little over defensive, and then he could get away with that greed, and then just sneak his way into the mid game in a fantastic position. Didn't quite manage to make it though, because this man down here has just looked so strong in this series. He is the Protoss powerhouse, the many-time WCS champion, and a player of historic importance. The player who is carrying that American flag high. Down here in the bottom left-hand side, in the blue, it is Ting's Neeb.
He has come in with a mission. That stat about being in top 3, but not having a finals appearance. He wants to change that. This man has a long way to go to upset that in the Northeast. Our Red Terran player struggling to come back. He is Clem. And you talked about it. We know Clem is so good. He plays so fast. We got to see a little bit of that in that first game, but the thing about Neeb that's made him so good is we talk about him not as a cheesy player, right? Neeb, we've got that whole meme, the Fist of Neeb, right? Where he had 199 army supply in a ridiculously long split map game against Rogue, and you're like, yeah, Neeb takes it to the late game. Neeb's punched in tournament wins off the Golden Armada, but at the same time, I mean, he is also a shark in the water. If he smells even the slightest bit of blood, he is going for it. And he is incredibly decisive in a game like that to say, yes, I'm going to make this push. I'm going to bring in these adepts, and I'm going to go all in with these units to really get some damage done against an opponent that's been a little bit greedy. That's what makes Neeb a champion tier player.
Yeah, Neeb's ability to cut a corner here or there, to just be a little bit greedier than someone else, but also to immediately turn that into his next pressure hitting faster and harder than anyone else hits. That's Neeb's power. It's not, oh, I got a bit ahead, now I'm going to be greedier again. It's always he's a bit greedy. He hits his counter pressure harder and faster than you'd expect, catches you off guard, goes even greedier than you'd expect behind it, and then hits you with another pressure. And it's this to and fro, his ability to swap between defense and offense at the perfect times that makes Neeb such a difficult player to play against.
Yeah, factory positioning quite far from the barracks in the main for me on Clem. That says he's probably not going to move it onto the reactor for Hellion, so maybe 1 or 2 mine drop with that starport, or perhaps we see something a little bit different this game. World of Sleepers is kind of a fun one, of course. There's the potential. I haven't seen anything quite like it on this map since, this is, I think, the first big tournament really we're getting with these. But I see some potential siege up position from that low ground base by the mineral patch.
Yeah.
Like, I see that. The TVTs that I play on this, I'm like, I know Terrence can put tanks there, pig.
Yeah, there is some really beautiful pushes to siege up some of that tech in the main base or kind of out in front in the third. And a few good cliffs. I think that's the most interesting thing about this map pool in general, is just the amount of kind of high ground, low ground interaction, weird ramps, choke points, terrain. The Adept gets in here. Going to cause a bit of trouble. Already a Marine and an SCV goes down. Going to start to fight these Marines. Reaper's going to have something to say about that.
Yep, and of course, keeping that Reaper alive, very important. Can actually do quite a bit of dancing against this, and he will get the Adept.
Nice.
That's a sweet pickup. Now, Neeb is going for that Warp Prism, and there's the robotics base. This was a little bit of what I was alluding to earlier. We saw him bust out quite a bit of this. I think it was against Massa and WCS Challenger towards the finals. But a Viking opening for Clem. I mean, you just lost to Stargate. A Viking's not going to be a bad play. And a Cyclone to boot. I think there's a big opportunity to shut this down and possibly get an edge for Clem. Now, of course, it can swing the other way if he makes 1 or 2 mistakes and that Disruptor is able to blow up the Cyclone or get some ground damage done. But the Viking at least should be able to bully a Warp Prism away.
Absolutely. And since this Warp Prism started quite early, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it go across with Gateway units. As I say that, it looks like it is going to wait. So it is indeed probably going to be a Disruptor or potentially Colossus drop. I love the Colossus drop opening myself, but Disruptor a bit more common.
And Colossus drop went the way of the dinosaurs.
It's it's a fun one, but the Speed Prism Disruptor just has that potential to swing in on a flanking an opponent's push, and like we've seen it just game-changing Disruptor hits, right?
It looks not cooler just in the highlight reels too.
Oh yeah. We've got the Siege Tank, Widowmine, Viking, Marine push coming across here. Nice little pressure that's going to, of course, potentially stop a third base going up. But Neeb not rushing his third. He's very happy to sit on 2 bases. I don't think Clem should commit to this. He's got to be real careful. Oh, the Disruptor coming forward.
He could shut this down with 1 Purification Nova into those Marines. The tank won't be able to do it on its own. Comes in now. That's where you got to be cautious. If the Stalker's going to get that Viking, that'd be quite big. He's going to grab 2 of the reinforcing Marines. He gets something with that. Of course, the tank itself is still quite problematic.
You got to go home though, Clem. Clem, you can't push in here. He sees when he sees no third, he should get out of there. He's got to run. There's no way against the 2-base Protoss he can get this up. He's trying to distract for the Liberator. You see, he's trying to extend this position, and he is damaging and wounding some units. The Liberator can get in that main base while Neeb's distracted. The Marine Viking still being quite threatening here. And good splits. Only 1 red hit point Marine going down. The Liberator getting some damage. Clem here making quite a lot happen with only a couple of units.
That's fantastic. 7 probe kills in the main base of Neeb as he put that pressure on the natural. And you were talking about it as quite risky with the 3rd base positioning. Neeb takes that the close space. He mined out the mineral patches between the natural and that high ground 3rd. Viking is, I think it's quite dangerous to throw this Viking away like this. You know your opponent has a Prism and a Disruptor. I feel like leaving that on patrol might be a little bit of a safer play. This Liberator is finally killed.
I think the Viking is already one of the most undervalued tools in TVP for shutting down charge lot warp-ins later on in the game in your main base. But when you've got a speed prism disruptor flying around the map, as you said there, Nate, it takes just absolute prime importance. Multiple tanks around, no bunker. No bunker. Oh no, and the tanks are clumped. But
okay, doesn't have the shot. He's just going to be able to delay the command center a little bit.
He's got to worry about this frontal push. Those tanks cannot go down. Neeb here. Oh, he's got this real scary pressure coming forward. I don't think it can crack him, though. 2 tanks, 2 mines. Like, surely you should be fine here as Clem.
Yeah, this was quite odd. That Viking actually took a good bit of shields off of the Colossus, which I feel like for Neeb, you kind of want to wait a little bit. His army's been peppered quite heavily between the tanks and that Viking, and the warp prism getting low. Makes me a little bit nervous. If he can land a good shot here, it'd be nice. Or he gets the Widow Mine.
Not bad, not bad. Still no bunker. That 3rd command center is on the way here. Neeb only up a handful of workers right now, and Clem aware of that. He sees there's not a lot of economy. Lovely scan. Gets rid of that observer that was having a peek on his natural. And that disruptor. This is such a scary thing to deal with. You got to be real worried here. Notice that Neeb can't really unload it in Marauder range. Yeah, he had to quickly cancel and pick that back up. The disruptor would have gone down. If you do snipe the disruptor, the Purification Nova just disappears. Yeah. Does not impact. Unless it goes off before the disruptor falls.
Now, Clem's got quite a push on his own, moving across the map. +1 armor and charge have started for Neeb, but quite a ways away, and that's going to make this a little bit tricky. Prism is going to be able to get inside of the main base, so we could see him get some SCV kills. Good split, but Clem's only going to lose 3. And he's got that attack situated now towards the 3rd base. There's 2 Colossi, 3 sentries. There's the force fields. Guardian Shield tanks get focused down very quickly. 1 Colossus is very low. Pulls back behind the army. He gets one of them, but the 3rd Colossus shows up from the main base.
Both tanks getting focused down there. Neeb stands his ground. If he let those tanks get situated, that would have been a disaster. But he holds on, and the disruptor landing another shot behind it, just picking away at his opponent. Neeb's ability to defend at home whilst peppering down the Terran's economy. An amazing play here from Neeb. He's getting his charge now. He's got his sentries and immortals on the way. He's diversifying this composition. It's only a matter of time until he starts going up to things like Storm, and with a 15 worker advantage, that speed disruptor still causing problems. Oh, just lovely play by Neeb, making Clem so uncomfortable in this map.
Yeah, it just takes a scoop out of that bio with the disruptor. Now, we do have a 4 Widow Mine drop trying to make its way towards that natural expansion as the Templar Archive starts, as well as Blink. And sometimes you see Protoss players try to make a push on the Terran when they take that 3rd, but I think with some of the chaos that we've had in this game, that may not be on Neeb's agenda, which I think ends up being quite nice for Clem. And let's see if this Widow Mine can get anything down. There's only a photon cannon, not really pulling too quickly.
Ooh, not bad. 9 probes to go down. And with the distraction, Clem pounces. He's got such a good knowledge of how to take advantage of that. And another Widow Mine goes into the 3rd at the same time. 15 worker kills. A massive swing from Clem, but Neeb's angry now. No, Clem's made him angry, Nate.
Yeah, he's trying to push forward. He does have charge and +1 armor. The 2 Colossi stepping forward. Only 2 Vikings to try and deal with that. Pulling back the one that did get its shields lowered, and he's trying to keep the Zealots nearby in case of the dive on top of this army. The Colossi are going to do tons of damage to those SCVs, clumping up against the Zealots. 20 plus going down as everything is pulled to the front line to defend against this attack. And Clem is going to lose so much to have made this happen. Down 15 plus workers. Vikings are going to land, but the Big Daddy Immortal helping to cement this push. Even though he's going to clean this up, I have to ask the question, Pig, at what cost?
Oh my God, that was a crazy push by Neeb. As we mentioned, he understands when he can push everything into aggression, and he does it there. Goes in, gets some massive workers, but don't forget he did lose every single tech unit. Clem has 3 orbitals. He can drop mules 3 at a time. That does make up for part of that economic deficit. He's quickly rebuilding SCVs. You know what? It was a good move by Neeb. It did good economic damage, but right now, Clem does have a scary army, and you can see he's spreading out harassment tools. Vikings heading to the south. I think it might be a Liberator or a drop in the top left as well. Another Viking going up there. But this Zealot counterattack, that could be a huge problem.
Yeah, that's a big play. He doesn't have the Prism, so being able to get some units out like this is still really nice. Excuse me, he did rebuild the Prism, but it wasn't out on the field just yet. Being able to do this, he's pulling the Terran army home. You talk about that scary army. Well, now it has to run back to the natural. SCVs continuing to get torn apart in this base. A recall being used to bring some forces over towards that 3rd as a Viking harass is happening, but it's not enough. GG, Neeb takes the series 3-0. Clem just running out of steam. He wanted to make that counterattack and realized he was going to be boxed into his own base forever with those counters.
Yeah, when your natural is getting ravaged and you see a fully saturated third base and your harassment's getting shut down, it's a long road to recovery from there. Pretty much impossible. And Clem, of course, does capitulate. But what a decisive series from Neeb, taking advantage of every little moment of weakness. We thought game one was going Clem's way, and Neeb just said, no, for Colossus, let's go. Snatched it. The Oracle's Adepts in game two. So many beautiful timings and moments where he took advantage of that. I can't wait to hear from the man himself. Let's head over to Cloaken on the stage.
Thanks so much, Pig. That's right. I'm here with Neeb. Congratulations. You move on to the round of 8. How are you feeling right now? How was that match for you?
I'm feeling pretty good. I didn't expect a 3-0. Like, Clem has been improving a lot recently, so to 3-0 him, it feels really good. It's a big confidence booster.
Absolutely, man. Now, I know you've been a dominant player in the North American scene for a while now. 2017, you made it to a bunch of finals across that year. 2018, struggled to kind of get back into that finals. Is this a tournament? Are we going to see you back in the finals? I know you have Cyril on your side of the bracket, so there's a big wall there. But what is your confidence level right now as it relates to this tournament?
It's pretty decent. It's slightly better than most events, I'd say. So, I mean, I'm feeling confident, but then again, there's still Cyril on this side. So, I mean, honestly, if I just make it to the semifinals and get eliminated by him, that's a pretty successful event for me. So, I mean, that's good enough.
Absolutely, man. And of course, we know you've got your spot at the global stage, so we'll look forward to seeing you there. Congratulations. We'll let you prepare for your next matches. One more round of applause here for our man. Congrats. Well, back to the desk here.
Oh my.
Hello, Roddy. How are you doing?
You talk about one player that has ever struck fear in the heart of his opponents. I mean, have you ever heard people say this? Like, well, if I make to the semifinals and I lose to him, that's a really successful event. Well, he's had a pretty successful event. But still, I mean, yeah, Cyril is obviously ridiculous. I did not expect this to be this one-sided. I'm with Neeb. He said it as well on stage, right? Clem has been playing very good Starcraft lately.
Yep.
I was kind of hoping that this would be that magical moment where Clem would finally break into the top 8 once, you know, for the first time in his career. But Neeb is showing us that he still is one of the all-time greats as well when it comes to non-Korean Starcraft 2. And he's just so damn consistent too.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm all for Clem having a good appearance versus Neeb, but I was definitely cheering for Neeb to continue on with the North American representation. Although we do still have Estrella still alive facing off against Time. So, and I guess Special as well, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Neeb won, but I was also expecting a bit more from Clem.
We haven't done this a lot, but we could actually jump into your laptop for a little bit, because this game 2 is actually quite exciting. It's been going on for a while. At one point, I was like, man, Time is playing like an absolute animal. He's so damn good. But Australia just kind of refuses to die, and he's really making a game out of this.
That's actually the description of the last like 2 or 3 battles, is that Time will take the big units down, the Colossus, the Archons, the Disruptors in this case, and then he'll just get swamped by charge lots, and so Australia will barely survive. But it's been going on. It's almost a 20-minute game here. Looks like that might be a base that goes down. Partial recall.
That's a weird recall. Can he even win that fight now?
No. Well, no, there's like an Archon and stuff, but I don't know. So this isn't even over. And the first game was won by Time 2-base SEV pooling. So they've actually been pretty evenly matched. It was a really, really clutch almost hold from Australia last game. So these guys are really evenly matched.
Yep. Yeah, Australia putting up one hell of a fight. I love when we see the fancy upgrades, you know. Oh, he's doing that for Fear Dragon. He's like, Fear Dragon, are you watching? I'll go Blink DT just for you.
You call them the fancy upgrades?
Yeah, I mean...
I kind of agree with it. I call them miscellaneous, but fancy's nicer.
Yeah, they're fancy.
I must say, like, Time is micro. I know we can be in this game forever, but Time is micro when it comes to avoiding disruptive shots. It's like, it's almost automatic. It's just ridiculous. He's somehow, even in big battles, he managed to just, like, avoid where the disruptor lands. And Australia's trying to do little tricks as well, where he sends it forward and then he pulls it back because he's anticipating the micro. But then Time goes the other side again. It's actually, Time is stupid good at StarCraft.
Absolutely. Let's check in with the bracket as well here to confirm exactly who's moved through into our round of 8 so far, as we have 5 participants already there. Special, Stefano, Reina, Eliza, and now Neeb joins the fray. A lot of these players are going to have to channel their inner Canadian and say, I'm sorry for all of these 3-0s. It's been a fast day so far of StarCraft 2. And on the main stage, we have 1 series left It has been a blitz, Rotterdam, today.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we did have a super long day, though.
Yeah.
To our excuse, and you know, it's a little bit or miss sometimes. We still had a couple of fun matches as well, but yeah, obviously, I mean, you don't predict Neeb Clem 3-0. I really wouldn't have done that. Eleza Drogo 3-0 with short games as well. You don't make these predictions, but that's also StarCraft 2. It doesn't always have to be 35-minute plus games.
And I just got confirmation of our next match, our final match that we're going to be showing here on the main stream. It's going to be Here Marine versus Showtime. So Cyril Denver will be on the B stream. And of course, we will be looking towards 2 Meisterschaft masters when it comes to Showtime and Here Marine.
I mean, that is a really fun match and maybe the closer one between the two. But on the other hand, I also feel like, man, Denver, this is his second round of 16 back-to-back. After summer, he does it here again. And in summer, he only lost to Cyril. So it is kind of sad, right? When you make 2 round of 16s in a row, but then 2 times you may run into arguably the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time and then be eliminated. And don't really get the limelight you deserve. But obviously, we'll try to keep you guys posted about what's happening in those games. It's good news for the B-casters, though. Like, if I was casting from home right now and they'll be like, you want to have the 7 round of 16 match? I'd be like, yes, sir, I'll take that.
And we're like, oh, I reluctantly agree, you know. That's how that's going to go. So I believe that what that does it for now, ladies and gentlemen. I think what we're going to do is going to go to a break here for WCS Fall. And when we return, we have one more final series here for the round of 16 as Here Marine is going to go up against Showtime.